So this actually call here, it is manifesting the call by value, because clearly here, without looking to what is this declaration here, this is a value. This is a variable that holds a value, and passing the value it is. I'm initializing it with here with a given static value. The process is here. When I execute, it would give me the result actually 100. What is it? It's this 10 multiplied by itself, no more, no less. So this is a clear view of this pass by value. The next task actually, it is clearly asking us, right, let me find the question paper. Yeah, so here I'm going to pass to the calculation of the area. Actually, what we saw so far is the added value of this first one, the calculation of the square area using a method respecting the behavior passing by value. Here it is. Now we are going to calculate the triangle, not a rectangle. It's a triangle using a function, and also referring to the use of the pointers. Pass by address. I'm going to use a new compiler. Triangle area calculation. Pass by address approach. Okay, pass by address approach. Good. I do not need this block. I'm going to call my library. Good. Do I have to use a method as per the question? Yes, we have to use a function as per the question. So yes, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to define a prototype. I'm going to give it actually data type and return, which is here an int. Let's say, for example, int triangle area. Yes, you know parameters. I'm going to start it here. There is no start here. It's a prototype only. I'm going to define it here just right after. Immediately, I'm going to pass to this definition. The definition, you copy paste. Okay. Here, the formula actually of triangle is the base multiplied by the height divided by 2. The formula is, let's say here, EA, triangle area, equals the base multiplied by the height subdivided by 0.5. Oh, let's say subdivided by 2, or multiplied by 0.5. So it is a division by 2. Whatever the division of what, division of all, or division of the h, it will be the same because it's a multiplication here, something like that. So what is the b is the base of the triangle. What is the h is the height of the triangle, and is by 2. It is the rule like that, no more, no less. Let's define those variables, this b, this h, and this ta. First of all, so I'm going to say nta semicolon, then int b, then int h. Is it correct? No, it cannot be, because the ta, it is whole in a division function, so it cannot be an int. I'm going to change it into a double. Let's say like that. Okay, the ta, I'm going to give it a value. Let's say 10. Is it okay? No, because it is a process. The b, I'm going to give it a value. Yes, it can be. I'm going to give a base that measures 5 units. The height, it measures 10 units, something like that. And this is the output. No, actually, it has to return an int. No, it is not an int. It is a double only. I'm going to just make a return first. Return what? The ta. Simple. The process, the triangle area. Run. It will give us actually something erroneous, because here we can semicolon here. This semicolon. Yeah, let me run again. Good. Namespace has not been declared. Name using name space. That's good. Typo. Run. Nothing, because the main is empty, and he is not seeing the error yet. He did not see the error yet. Syntactically, it's correct, but programmatically, it's not acceptable to return an int while the process is a double. So let me first of all call this method here. Copy the main, paste, semicolon, run. No output. And even it did not declare the error. I was expecting to have an error. 25, he's mentioned 25. So 10 by 5, 50 by 2 is 25. Let me change this 10 to 7. Okay. 17, he's saying. What is this 17? 7 by 5 is 35. 35 divided by 2 is 17.5. There is no 5. 0.5 is not mentioned. Why? Because we are saying it's an int. I'm going to change it into double. See, will we get the same 17? No, we are not getting the same 17. There is something here. What does he do? Even this is not what we expected, so I'm going to stop. Double TAB5 subdivided by 2, so there is no error at all here. Yes, because here also I have to change it into a double. Problem in this compiler. I'm going to copy in order to guarantee that I will not lose my code. Let me run now. Still, it is showing something erroneous. It is it seems to be it is getting into an infinite loop. But let me check what's the problem. Double triangle area. The same name, no? I'm copying. It's the same name, yeah. Highlighted here. Double. Okay. Okay, int b, int h, ta equal to ta. It is a long list of values. Again, I'm going to change my compiler. In my code. Let me execute. 17, he's saying return TA. But we specify that it is double. Let me change it into a float. I need actually the value, the 17 is an int. That's good. But I need a floating value. Float. And here I'm going to say it's a float or decimal later on. I'll test. Actually, it's a compiler specificity, no more, no less. I'm going to say 7.0. Not there. Maybe something like that. Let me see. Actually, 7.0 means no, it cannot be an int. See, what I'm doing right now is just to understand how this compiler is running, no more, no less. And here is my 17.5. It runs very fine. So as I told you, it's a matter of data type only. Yeah. So khalas, we got the thing. Here did we exactly answer the question request? Still, we need to pass by address here. We need to pass by address. Actually, the calculation of this process using a function, we did it. Just to pass by address, no more, no less. So to do so, it got stuck. Did I use this interface? No, I used this one actually. So to do so, actually, to pass by address, the same solution here, pass by address. I'm going to just finalize. We used here using functions, something like that. And here is specifically pass by address. So this function has to be parameterized since it is going to return a float and it is using this TA as a process, which is a float also, the double and the int. I'm going to pass those two parameters only, the b and the h. So I'm going to say here, int, for example, b base and float h. Here there is no declaration of those two, so only an int and then a float. Then here, I'm going to say the int b and the float h. Okay, there is no int b equal double equal something like that. No, nothing. Just declaring the result space holder and the process, then return. That's it. The main, instead of writing declarations, we represent. So here in the main, I'm going to cut those things. I want to declare them here now inside the main. Those int b equal 5 and this double equal. And here I'm going to say b comma h. Since I'm request to pass by address, it has to be with address. This is the address, b, and this is the address of h. Remember, we need to use pointers only, but let me just execute to see what is the error here. Yeah, okay, so here triangle float is signed. This is the third error. The first error is this one in the main. What is from an int pointer into an int? We cannot. It has to be an int pointer. Here, this pointer, as I told you. So here, star, and here let's say star also, because I'm using addresses for both. Great. So triangle here. What is the error? Cannot convert double star to float star, double and float. Let's use the double. Here, let's say double. Did I miss something? That's it. Let me execute. I'm just expecting the syntax of this compiler, so the program has been achieved. 1D returned. Error ID. Yeah, exactly. Because we are declaring a pointer here and we are giving here normal variable. So it has to be a pointer also. And here also a pointer. So let's execute. I missed. So b by h. Double, what did he say? Float triangle. Offense of type. Exactly. To binary operator here, we cannot use the b like such. It is the pointer b. So it is the content of b. And then after it is the content of h. We multiplied. Let me execute. Great. 17.5. 17.5. Pass by address. Pass by address. Very well. Very well. Very well. Let me pass to next task. Create C++ program to calculate the average of integer numbers stored in an array using functions. Great. So I'm going to use this compiler. Let me use this compiler, another one. Another interface. So he said using functions, I believe. Using stored in an array using functions. Yes, using functions. So to do so, let me do that. Good. So I'm going to delete this one. I do not need. Here in my declaration area, I'm going to declare a prototype of a function, which is to have a double in return. Let's say it's an array avg, for example, name. It's semicolon. Good. I'm going to define this prototype here at the end. So starts here and gets closed here. Good. In here, in between, we're going to do the process. I'm going to declare an array of ints, and let's say AR sized 5, for example, equals, I'm going to initialize straightforward, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Very simple. We call it. Good. I declared and initialized an array that has 5 elements. Straightforward to sum and make the average of those things. Just I'm going to use a loop so the easy way, no more, no less. Int I that starts from the index 0 and it has a condition to stop when it reaches strict forward less than the size, we see the 5. Then an incrementation, which is a plus plus. Good. I have a setup here, and inside this for, I'm gonna make the sum. I'm gonna say the what. So in order to make it easy for you, you have to declare a variable to have the result. So let's say in sum, okay, and in the sum here, sum plus equal var at the position I, semicolon. But to avoid any errors, let me execute first of all. Any results? No. Okay, no errors, no results. That's good. So here inside the main, I'm going to call this method here and see what would be the result. Here, sum, execute, and results? No, but there are errors. Semicolon first. Execute. Any output? No, there is no output. Why? Because this one, it returns a value, but it does not show any output. So return the sum, let's say here, and I'm going to just write it in inside the cout. Okay, cout, or something like that. So execute. So 15. What is the 15? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Those are 15. Yet we need the average. So I'm going to just create a second variable here. It's not an int. It is a double, for example, avg. Okay, and here I'm going to say avg equals sum divided by the size, which is the 5 here. And here return avg. Yes, that's it. Execute. 3. 15 divided by 5 is 3. That's correct. It works very fine. It works very fine. So this is the solution using a function. So here is the solution using a function simply. So here, command average of an array using a function. I'm going to modify that to make this solution, but take a number stored in an array using functions. That's it for now. Actually, this task, خلاص, we finished. We accomplished. Next task, create C++ program to calculate an integer stored in an array. Use a defined function that has an array as a parameter. So task number 4, we finished. Task number 5 is the same, yet the function has to have a parameter which is an array, not a simple variable, not a simple variable. So here, parameterized with an array. Parameterized with an array. Okay, I'm going to modify it to solve this task number 5. What to modify? The method has to be parameterized. So I'm going to say here, this declaration, I'm going to move it here. So I'm going to say here, let's say it's an int, something like that, but it's an array. So I'm going to put a star. Leave it like that, first of all. Leave it like that. I'm going to define this here, this int here. I'm going to say AR, for example, square, and it has 5 elements, for example. But it's an array. I'm not going to declare here the size here. I'm not going to declare the size here. I'm going to cut this one because we do not need it. It has to be mentioned inside the main. This declaration and initialization, because we are going to pass it here, this AR5. I'm going to pass it here. Yes, we are defining it with a parameter, and the parameter is an array. So here it is. Good. Let me just see the result now. Simple. Without making any other further modifications, let me just see the result. Any errors? Yes, we have an error. Exit actually. And define reference to an array average int. There is nothing with this name here. We are passing actually the array with this size. So I'm gonna just pass the name of the array only. Just see what I'm modifying now. What I'm modifying, because I would solve it immediately using an array. Sorry, using a pointer. But just I'm doing actually some errors intentionally to read those messages here to understand deeply. Still now, see here, we cannot actually reference the thing with an AR which is not recognized already. We define it with something actually as an int. But this one is a pointer. So he's saying here, pointer. We cannot change it from a pointer B into something like an int. What should I do? Here, space, star, it's a pointer here. And the same way here, I'm going to just say I'm using an array, so it is the square here. There is no error. Let me execute only. 3. It works very fine. It works very fine. Pointer here. It did not ask the question. The question did not ask about the pointer, but an array as a parameter. If I replace this one here, how to say that this is not a simple one variable, it is a list of variables, it is an array. Should I write something like that? No, no. Let me execute. Actually, it worked, but it is not the way to do that. Initialization is the same here inside the method or outside, so we have to do it. And actually here it is a static one. It is a static declaration. Sorry, initialization. So we can do actually cins out, and so on. Whatever. We given values. They call the name only here, which is already utilized somewhere in the definition. The definition here we persisted. We mentioned that this is actually an array. The same way we can mention that this is actually simple. We can say that this is an array. Sorry, it is a pointer that points to something. Whatever the thing is, one value or a list of values, it would work. So let me just execute and that's it. Yes, 3. So because of the values 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. If I change the values, for example, here to 5, it will give us 19. 19 by 3 is something in double. But whatever. 19 by 5. Let me use something. Let me use different values. 10 plus 5. Let's use this one actually. 30 bigger numbers. Yes, it works very fine. So it works. It is changing. Five plus 10 plus 30, 45. 50, 54. 54 by 5. It is 10.8. 10.8. So no, it is actually an int because we are just specifying that it is an int. No, it is as usual. We have to mention the values actually with 0, with dots or something like that, and this is a float. It's a matter of compile understanding, no more or less. It works very fine. Let's pass to the next task. Okay, to allocate a block of memory space for a double, no more no less. Simple. So let me use the same compiler again for a block of space for a double. No need for this one. And did not ask anything actually to use specific, special, no methods, no functions, nothing. Block memory, initialize, so خلاص, that's it. Let me come back to my compiler. Yes, here inside the main, I'm going to solve everything. I'm going to say declare, for example, a double. Let's say here double D. And I'm going to say D equal the easiest without pointer here for now. D equal new double. And okay, let me execute and see if it will accept that or not. Yeah, there is nothing called here D to say new double if something for this one, for this D. I'm going to change this D into a pointer and execute again. Okay, nothing. No errors, and nothing in output. Why? Because it is just allocating the space. To do so, just to make the thing actually clear, did it allocate or not? To answer this question, see what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it inside an if statement and say here, it's an affectation here. I'm affecting this allocation of space into this D. I'm affecting only the space allocated. If yes, I'm going to say here, cout, double space, let's say double space has been allocated. Okay, let's say here, less than it's an end of line. Okay, else, I'm going to say it's another cout, space, I'm going to write in capital, not allocated. Come on. Okay, and end of line also, the same thing here. Let me execute now again. Double space has been allocated. I'm going to write it differently here to check if it is not being allocated. If it is not being allocated, like we did it in theory here, if it's not being allocated, not here, exclamation mark. And I want to change double space has not been. And here, space allocated. Change the message. If it is not allocated, this message to be executed. Otherwise, this message means allocated. Let me execute. Space allocated. It works. The function works very fine. And we allocated the space. This is perfectly running. This is simple space allocation. Here, we did not answer the question yet. This is memory allocation. Now, this is the memory space allocation. I'm going to modify it to fit exactly the question request, which is a block of memory. Block of memory. This is simple definition of a value, no more or less. Before I test and make this allocation, I'm going to initialize this D. I'm going to say D equals, for example, 3.652, or any number in double format. Okay, semicolon, and execute. Is it correct? No, but let me execute. It's not possible to declare something like that. So because actually cannot convert double to double star. So I'm going to just change it to star content of D. Content of D equals this value. Execute. Okay, time monitor command compute dumped call actually. Shell line number 1. Yeah, here I'm going to change the order of this one here. I'm going to change it inside the if statement, and I'm going to make a block here and I close it here because we have two statements, 1 and 2. They both belong to this if. Let me execute now. Space allocated. Space allocated. That's perfectly one. And so here we are allocating a block of space. We are not only allocating a space for a double, a block of space to a double. A block of space, because we are initializing. So the space has been allocated, but here I'm going to change it into yeah, that's it. That's very fine. That's very fine here also. It may actually, because here we are in the not allocated. I'm going to move this one into the allocated space. So here, cut at the curly brace, put it here, and close the curly brace. Yeah, two statements belong to the else. Let me execute again. Still space allocated. So here we did actually, it is clearly work and fine that we allocated a block of space given to a double. Last task. C++ going to allocate a block of memory space of size n. Size n means not only one block for one double, but we have n blocks for n doubles, for example, or n ints or something like that. Simple. So here I'm going to make a modification to this class for, let's say, I'm going to say n blocks memory, n blocks of memory, n. Yes. So to do so, I'm going to change actually here the D, it has to be changed into an array, something like that. It is already actually a block, but here I'm going to just change it for an n size. It means n times, not an n size, n times. Okay, just let's fix that. So here to allocate the n blocks of this one, I'm going to just add it a size here, no more, no less. I'm going to say here, for example, 5, or let's say 100, something like that. I'm allocating spaces for 100 positions from this one, and each is a pointer. Each is a pointer. So Just that, just as simple as is, no more, no less. Let me just, because actually later on we have to pass through those sizes here because we have to pass through. But let me, first of all, before finishing that, let me execute. Yeah, we cannot actually give 3 or something this value for this d, which is already declared as an int. So to do so, here, I'm gonna just, before of that, I'm gonna create a loop for an int I that starts from 0 and less than what? This 100 here, this value here, less than 100. Yes, an incrementation plus plus, and this 4 starts here, and all of those 2 blocks, I'm gonna just set them here. Good. Let me gain the space. Great. So here inside of this 4, we are making the allocation of spaces, blocks of spaces. How many times? 100 times. Let's see. Execute. Still, there is an error. Let's start from the beginning. Incompatible types assigned. Double to double star to double star 100. Yes. The problem that it says that it is actually being yeah, exactly, because we have to make it here. The allocation has to be this allocation. This is the allocation, not this one. This is just a message to be displayed and the block to be initialized. So it has to be happening here. The for loop, I'm going to modify the place. So simply for, I'm going to just copy this block here inside the loop. Why am I copying this? Because this is the allocation. Remember, actually, just I repeated the message only, but this is here inside the double action. I'm going to just specify here that D is going to be allocated, and let's execute, and we will see the messages. Yeah, 3 errors. A new double is saying while it is actually an array. I'm going to say here just I at the position I, whatever. It has to be with one specific size. Yeah, it cannot be here, so I'm going to say here 1, position 1 only with a specific size. Still the 1 is not acceptable, but before that I have here an error. Now let me see what is that. Double to double star 100. 11H 11 is the one. Yeah, here it has to be. I do not need this one. I do not need this one even, but here I can change it into an array. Simple. So position 1125. I'm going to say 1, execute. 1126. This one we do not need it already. We are using the for loop. This one not need, because خلاص we have the allocation here. We are modifying the syntax compatible, so 13. Yes. Did I miss a space or something like that? I'm not actually seeing any error in my syntax. I'm going to allocate space. Okay, here. The space, I'm going to give it a size. The double, there is no, I'm going to just give a space, and it's a pointer. It's a pointer because we are not going to allocate the full 100, but it's a pointer to something. Make it easy. Then if happened, we will have a loop to allocate the blocks from 0 to 1. Let me execute. Okay, here still it's talking about the data type. The error is data type pointer into double. That's great. Let's fix the first one on pointer of pointer. I'll stop the record and then I'll fix this one in order to give you just short explanation.